So you have to consent to being recorded?
I know, it's not new.
No, I've never seen that before.
Yeah,
Neither.
must be something new.
All right, you are live, sir.
All right, thank you. Welcome to the Mill Pond Park Pool PBC special meeting, Monday, May 24th at 6 p.m., not 7:15 p.m. All right, can you bring up the agenda for me? Okay, we call the meeting order. I think we got to do a roll call.
Yes.
Jeff, are you doing it or is
No, I can do that.
okay?
The
Awesome.
members are asked to signify their presence when their name is called. Councilor Ranist,
President,
Mr. Knowlton,
Present.
Mr. Woods,
Here.
Mr. Bashan,
Here.
Mr. Batalico, Mr. Havens,
Here.
Mr. Donahue.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I think, so if we're not on, actually, the town, we're not broadcasting tonight, but if you're watching on Zoom, you can either raise hand as you're a participant or call the number 888-788-099 or 877-853-5247. Webinar ID is listed there and the password. All right. Anybody for public participation? I don't see anybody in the attendees room.
Nope, not at this time.
All right. All right, so we'll move on. All right, so we're here to look at the, I guess, final plan.
Conceptual design.
Conceptual design for the Mill Pond Pool replacement. So, Bill, if you want to start and then turn it over to Ms. Fortuna.
Yep. Yeah. So we'll basically turn it over to Mike, but we've got the geotech information and we've got the survey. We've got all the information that we needed some months ago when we last met. It all came together. Mike put it together into a nice package. It's several pages. So we thought that maybe today we could summarize it a little bit easier. And Mike has a lot of the details and I'll jump in when we need to. So Mike, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thanks, Bill. Hi, everyone.
Mike, would you like to be able to share your screen for the presentation? Okay.
Yeah, what I did was I took this 145-page document and distilled it down to 9 pages so we can kind of walk through it quickly.
You should be all set now to go.
All right. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so just to give you the summary of where we landed on the survey and the geotech, the survey didn't reveal any huge surprises. There were a couple of things we didn't expect to see, but nothing that affects development. We were able to locate all the major underground utilities, we think. We were pretty successful in finding and toning everything out. So we all knew about the MDC sewer main. That's this kind of brownish line here. There was also a large drainage structure on the site and some underground power and plumbing and, you know, the usual stuff. So the only things that we thought we really want to avoid in the development is obviously the sewer main right away in this large underground structure. Everything else is relatively small, easy to move if we needed to. So that, you know, that all panned out okay. And then we did a few days of borings out there. So everywhere you see highlighted here is where we drilled. The depth of the borings were anywhere from 19 to 24 feet. We only hit refusal in one spot. and it could have been, landing on a boulder. It would be unusual that there's ledge and we only hit it once. That went down almost 16 feet, and we met refusal on the auger. So it's probably a boulder, but in any scenario, we're not going to be that deep with our development. So I don't anticipate encountering any rock. Groundwater in the area closest to Garfield Street at the north end of the site varied from about 4 feet deep to about 5 feet deep. We read the monitoring wells, which are still in place over the course of several months, and that was pretty stable in that range. So, we'll have to deal with that. The shallow pool will ride above it, but the deeper pool will be into it. So we'll have some underslab drainage. And then we talked about if this site didn't pan out, a backup site, and that was the one over by the playground. Turns out that area is worse. Still no rock. Borings were 19 to 22 feet deep. But groundwater was very unstable, and it ranged from 4 inches below grade to 2 feet below grade. And the 4 inches was in March after some heavy rains. The 2 feet is kind of probably the static level. So I think that the north end of the site, which was the preferred area, pans out to be the better choice. For a bunch of reasons, but right now speaking about the geotechnical analysis. So that's what we found. We in your package is the full survey document. It's several pages, and it closed the perimeter. We picked up the topo, the utilities, the bridge survey. So as Bill said, we have all the information we need from a survey standpoint to proceed with design. So the overall design concept, when we looked at it, I don't know, a year or two back, we looked at the 4 different areas. This area up by Garfield Street sort of rose to the top as the best option. For several reasons, including access to the rec center across the street, visibility on the street, close to utilities, close to parking. The one shift we made from the last time was this crosshatched area and this crosshatched area represent your new crosswalks coming across from the town hall complex. So what we decided would be better is to shift the development east slightly, put the building between the 2 crosswalks, roughly behind those large pine trees, and then have the pool sort of avoid all of that network of utilities and drainage structures, pushes it further from the wetlands, further from the floodplain. So it'll simplify permitting and construction significantly. The groundwater will be encountered when we get into this end of the lap pool and the deep pool, but it shouldn't be an issue. We've got a diagram in the geotechnical report about how to deal with that. So that should all be fine. So basically what will happen is you can park anywhere you want along Garfield, along, the parking lots across the street from Garfield. Either crosswalk you come across will be connected to get you into the building. And then it's a pretty traditional through the building to the pool deck, through the building to the splash pad, or directly to the splash pad, not through the building if your facility is shut down. We also have the soft paved play area for the campers and the VIP area for events, which is not too far from where it is now, just shifted slightly east to give a little breathing room as you come across the street. The baseball field is gone, and so we're able to remove all of that fencing that sort of obstructs the view along Garfield Street, and tuck the building in behind the trees. There's a slight hill, and I've got a quick video I'll show you to give you a sense of where we're talking about putting this. So it's similar to the previous plan we looked at, just adjusted to accommodate the site conditions that we found. Just a blow up of what we were just looking at. So the building itself, this is Garfield Street, would be along the top. So the building is, as I mentioned, fairly traditional bathhouse where you'd come in, you'd have some control area to show proof of residency or buy tickets or however you want to do that. And then you'll come into the bathhouse. You've got men's locker room, women's locker room, a linear path through dry areas, semi-wet, wet, out to the pool deck, and then back the other way. We've also incorporated family changing rooms, 2 on the corridor through, and then 2 additional accessed from the main corridor, so that if you wanted to shut down the entire building, but leave the lobby and a couple of toilet rooms open for the extended splash pad season, you can do that. So you would come into the lobby and then directly out to the splash pad while the rest of the building is shut down. And then on the east end of the building, we've got the concession stand with windows that, with manipulation of windows and fencing, you could access the concessions from just the pool area, the pool and the splash pad, or just outside the pool area. So depending on what events you're running at different times of year, that concession area can serve different purposes. On the back of the building, on the pool deck, is the lifeguard area, obviously, first aid, all the sort of pool specific spaces. And then on the west end is the utility areas, the filter or the storage and electrical room and water service. And then closest to the deep end is where we have our filter plant that gives us best access to the deep water where all the pipes are coming from. So that's how the building is kind of laid out and zoned. So we wanted to be cognizant of the design of the building across the street. So as you all know, that's the building you just built. And so we wanted to pick up on the design features, the colors, the materials. So let me go to the next page and I'll come back to this one. So from Garfield Street, what we've done is we've picked up on that language, but there's the significant change in the massing of the building is the sloped roof. And the reason for that is to slope it and face it south for solar panels to heat the water and extend the seasons beyond the typical 2 to 2.5 month season. So you can extend that as long as you can staff it, really. We've got direct sight line to the sun facing south, so we'll get lots of good solar orientation. And then there's a lot of design that has to go into the system itself, but it can be a combination of photovoltaics and solar hot water, so that when the facility is not open, it could feed back to the grid and save you some money on your town bills, or pick up the necessary energy to run street lights or whatever. So we've got a pretty good clean roof area for that. And then on the lower portions of the roof, we've incorporated green roofs to kind of soften the impact in the park, but also to manage stormwater coming off of what's a fairly large shed roof where the solar panels would be. So we can collect that water, filter it through some planter beds, and then have clean water going back out into the wetlands, into the pond. So from the other side of the pool, you can see this glassed in area is the lifeguard room. The locker rooms are collected here. You've got the utility areas here and the filter room on this side. So as you come out of the bathhouse, you're at the shallow water. That's the safest approach. And then it gets progressively deeper the further you get away from the building, so that little kids who aren't comfortable in the deep water aren't passing the deep water to get in. And then down, so you've got the zero depth kind of leisure area, you've got the lap pool, and then the deep water down the other end with the water slide, climbing walls, and diving boards. And then you can see closer to the street is the splash pad. And then beyond that is that soft paved area. So the solar hot water system, not to get into a lot of detail, but basically you're taking your filtered water, pumping it up through solar collectors and then back down. You've got a fairly conventional pool heater. It's much smaller than if you were heating with gas. But that's primarily to regulate the temperature so you don't overheat the water. So, that's the basic system. So I think the layout all worked out as we hoped it would. We didn't find anything in the survey or geotech that derailed anything. So just briefly on cost, we've been talking about the phase one focusing on the pool for now. So that's basically items A through D. Construction costs, as I'm sure everybody is aware right now, are pretty high. So these reflect current dollars. We hope the market corrects itself. Right now, construction materials are up 30 to 35%. A year from now, we're hoping that comes back down to something reasonable, but these do reflect today's dollars. So focusing for a minute on the grouping called aquatics, which includes the bathhouse, swimming pools and decks, the water slide, diving board, climbing walls, fencing, splash pad, and a couple of shade structures. That's clocking in at about $7 million right now. And then the other pieces of the puzzle within phase one is removal of the baseball field. So you've actually got a cost reduction from the last budget, because in the last budget, we were building dugouts and lightings and things. The field sports is about $250,000 to regrade, get some drainage in there and get those ready to lay out and stripe for Frisbee and football, flag football. And then the soft paved area, which includes the soft decking as well as the fencing, is about $270,000 for 2,700 square feet of it. So one of the things that Bill and I were talking about is whether the demolition of the old pool and building becomes part of phase one or part of phase two. Makes a lot of sense to make it phase one, so it's not sitting out there in your newly developed park. The risk is that unless you know what you're going to build, you risk regrading the area and then have to redo it in phase two. So there's a discussion to be had around that. We're anticipating about $200,000 to demolish everything, and then about another $276,000 to regrade it. So, there's a logical argument to be made that those two items as part of the band shell should move up into phase one. But that's a decision this group will have to make at some point.
And you gain the space back too, right, Mike? I mean, it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if you don't build the band shell and seating and all that, now you could regrade the space and, have a nice sloped surface down to the pond.
So whatever space you took on the the new mill pond pool, you'd get it back
Right.
on the other side.
Right. So if you were to do A through D plus E1 and E2, that's about the 8 million in construction. And then you're going to have some soft costs. So I think you're probably close to 9 million in project costs if you include all of that. And again, that's based on the currently inflated construction costs, which we hope correct themselves. But there's no guarantee. So we didn't count on it. These numbers also include a 10% design contingency for things we don't know about yet, or things that Bill conjures up in his sleep. So that's where we are. That's the Reader's Digest version of where we are right now. And I'm happy to go into more detail if anybody wants to.
I had one question,
Sure.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
In that 8 million phase one, I can't read the chart very clearly. What are the other significant items besides the pool?
The bathhouse and the pool are the big ticket items. So the bathhouse is just over 2 million. The pool is 3.5 million. And then you got $250,000 worth of decks. And the splash pad is about 720,000. So those are the big tickets.
So there's really nothing else in there except, was the demo of the existing pool in there, did you say? Did you add that in?
No, that's what we were just talking about, maybe being either phase one or phase two, depending on how you wanted to proceed. But the demo of the pool is worth a couple $100,000.
Mhm. And did you say 276,000 for grading?
200, yeah. Well, for the band shell grading,
Oh,
if we want to tier it for seating, it wouldn't be that much if we just make it a slope for now.
mhm.
And the advantage of doing it as phase one is also that the spoils from the new construction of the pool can be hauled over to fill the old pool.
Mhm.
Where if you did it later, you'd be paying to haul the material off site and then paying to haul it back in later. So there's some efficiency of scale if you do it all now.
Yeah, I think the economy of scale we talked about last meeting was that you don't have to pay double bonding and you don't have to pay remobilization,
Right.
and the removal of the material. So those are your three big cost drivers right there.
Right.
And one more question. Was any borings done at the existing pool for groundwater or anything?
Yeah, we did one. Let me see what page here. Just bear with me 1 second. We did one near the existing bathhouse inside the pool fence line. We didn't put an observation well in there. So this is,
Yeah, you're looking for page 119 of 145.
is that the geotech? So this,
Yeah.
this drawing that's up right now shows the location of it.
Right. It shows where all the borings were taken.
Okay, we'll go to that page.
119.
I'm just curious about the depth of groundwater. Because if you could confirm that area around the playscape is the highest elevation in the whole park, except for the ridge line over by Willard, and I'm not even sure if that's any higher. That's why I'm surprised at how shallow the groundwater was there.
Yeah, I was a little surprised. I knew it was going to be high only because every time I've been out there a day or two after it rains, it's been soggy and wet. The 4 inches took me by surprise. The 2 feet didn't. So we don't have a monitoring well in B9, but let me just look at the log and see if he recorded anything. So B9 went 19 feet, 2 feet of fill, 17 feet of silt. Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, B3, 7, and 4. So I don't have groundwater data for that, but it's right near. It's right near 14, so it's going to be fairly similar to that. So this whole area was pretty similar in terms of the profiles of soils.
Would you call that groundwater or just water that's trapped in the ground after seasonal event?
That was groundwater. That's why we had him go back several times, because we wanted to be sure about that. So what we saw when it was first installed in December, it was bouncing all over the place. Then on December 30th, it was a foot down. We went back. So that was at 9 o'clock in the morning. We sent them back at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It was 5 feet down. Then we went back a month later, it was 2 feet, and went back a month later than that, and it was 4 inches. So it's very unstable in that end of the site. And the monitoring wells are still in place, so we can continue to read them.
And does that impact construction mainly, or are you concerned about the finished product? Because if you have the finished product with the weight of water above that, would there be any bearing on that afterwards?
Well, there's a couple things. What the pools, if you keep the pool full of water, then it's equalized with the groundwater outside, so it doesn't harm anything. The problem is, as soon as you drain the pool, then you're putting all that hydrostatic pressure onto the pool walls, and so you'd have to keep the pool full all winter. I know some municipalities do that, some don't. But regardless, you're going to have to, drain the pool for maintenance at times. Either way, we would do hydrostatic relief in the bottom of the pool. But when groundwater is bouncing around that much, that's a pretty unstable area. Whereas if you read the wells here, it's very stable. All of the readings are about the same. 4 feet, 4 feet, 4 feet, 4.3, and then 5.5, 5.5, 5.5, 5.5. So on the north end of the site, we're stable.
But you're still like you said yourself, the deep end still gonna have 4 or 5 feet of hydrostatic pressure against it.
Yeah.
If it maintains those numbers.
Right. Yeah, I think it will maintain those numbers. So this is how we would deal with that. We would put in an under drain system. So the pools would be designed to take the pressure structurally, and then we would have an under drain system to relieve that water under the mat slabs and make it less frost susceptible. So whether the pools are full of water or empty, we would manage that groundwater.
And they would drain to a pumping system or to gravity. I mean, to
the
daylight
pond.
somewhere.
They would daylight in the pond someplace.
But wouldn't the static level of the pond be higher than the bottom of the pool?
No, it's close to the bottom of the deep end of the pool. But we don't need to pitch these. We don't need to have positive pitch. We just need a relief. So
Saying if you did go down Garfield a little further, you could daylight them out to a reliable.
Yeah. Well,
source.
We could go into the piped storm system, and that one down across from the bus yard, that's certainly low enough. We could head that way.
Yeah, that would be an infinite, capacity.
Yep.
That's all. Thank you.
John, Mr. Chairman.
sir.
I've got
Yes.
a question, yes, for Bill. So what would be the next step? We've talked about this and have some rough numbers. Would it be the decision or the discussion to do the band shell or just to concentrate on the pool? What are your thoughts on how to move this to the next steps?
Yeah, my first thought was to do it all in one shot, because when you have construction, it's ugly and massively disturbing to people, and then you get it done. When you phase a park construction project, one, you run the risk that it never happens, and two, you run the risk of upsetting people in the neighborhood and whoever the park users twice instead of once. So that's one thing. But if we look at the 13 million versus 9 million, and if you're asking me, should we do the band shell? I say it's a no-brainer to demolish the existing bathhouse to gain back the space, especially so people can hang out and relax in an open space facility near a pond, and then put up a very, not an elaborate band show, but something that can be used for bands and the concerts, because those are very, very popular every Thursday night, and very popular at all the special events that we run. So as far as how do you proceed, I think I wrote a letter today to everybody. Just kind of, we've had 4 engineering firms, I guess, tell us that the pools have outlived their life expectancy. Now we have an architect, Mike Fortuna and TLB, that are experts. And then we had Custom Aquatics working to the tune of about $60,000 this spring, trying to fix cracks and leaks. So I shared that information with you, knowing full well that nobody can come back to all of us and say, we didn't know what we were talking about, or why didn't anyone tell us, or any of that kind of stuff. So I'm just laying out the facts for you. I think it takes a long time to get things done in government. So when you have something that takes so long to get done, the process is that this commission or this committee has to approve the design, and they have to then recommend to the council, I think, and request if they want to go to referendum. We have to educate the public. If the referendum passes, then you have to secure funding. And then after that, it still takes a year to build it. So again, this is the ideal design because you can keep the existing pool going and let kids take swimming lessons and summer camp go on, and people use the pool, and then you build it and then you make your switch over. But I'm getting afraid that we're at the brink of having the pool collapse and not be able to use it at all. And then we'll be 2 years, if not more, behind the 8 ball, and we'll look like we didn't plan ahead. So I wanted to make sure I was very, very obvious and very direct and very factful on what's happening in this community. I think in the big picture, if you're visionary, you probably look at Churchill Park is probably going to collapse. And you probably, the way I see the town's finances is you probably won't replace Churchill, but you'd probably put a splash pad up there for $700 or $1 million and let the picnickers, the 15,000 picnickers, cool off there and have a place for coolness during the hot summer, but focus your swimming lesson program and your recreational swim and your competitive sports swimming and your extended period. Because of the heated pool, you can open up from April to October. It probably makes some sense to focus on Mill Pond, bite the bullet, and at least address your immediate needs. So does that answer your question, Don? I don't know.
Yeah, it does. So is it time to ask for a consensus if the committee is in favor of items A, D, or do you need a motion? I'm not sure if we need further discussion. Do you need a motion?
I think, well, Phil has his hand up, so.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Phil.
Okay, real quick, Mike, I'm a splash pad guy because, well, I'm not the best swimmer, but I'll definitely sign up for lessons. But the bigger one is every day I'm over there with my 3.5-year-old son, and we'd love to have a splash pad over at Mill Pond. 2 questions. On the map, the way it's laid out, is the splash pad accessible when the building itself is not staffed? Is it accessible to the public, similar to, say, West Hartford or New Britain, the way that they have it set up? And then second question, is the splash pad for $700,000, Is that the basic arrangement, or is that the one where you can get the bucket that, fills up and then dumps on the kids' heads? The reason why I'm bringing this up is, I bring my kid over to the playscape pretty much 5 days a week in the middle of the day, and moms are asking for sure. They're taking their kids to Cromwell, they're taking them to West Hartford, waiting for movement on this. And I think it would be great if we're able to have our kids over at the playscape and then walk over to the splash pad and be able to use that as well. So accessibility is important, and also just questioning, for the 700 grand, what do you get out of that splash pad?
Okay, so the answer to question one is yes, you can access the splash pad without having to access the pool area. That said, it's arranged so that the Parks Department can set it up to do it any way they want. So if during the summer swim season, if you wanted to require people to go through the bathhouse, you can, but you certainly don't have to. It could be open like West Hartford's. This 700,000 gets you a pretty nice splash pad with lots of interactive features. So, the tumble buckets, like you mentioned, we can do the features that spray water at each other, so kids can spray each other or you. So it's a pretty involved splash pad with lots of features. It's not a couple of static features spraying water. So
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
If I could just add too, if it's okay, the design, the way we looked at it, we have it, there's an important point here. The state of Connecticut Health Department requires warm showers if you're recycling water. So we would chlorinate the water for the 8 weeks or whatever the normal summer pool is open. So you would go through the bathhouse, take a shower and get in. And then there's also the opportunity to close the pool house down and just open the gates and let it be wide open and put the water to gray water. And the gray water would then be used to water the natural grass in the park. So we had a couple things in mind to accomplish, make it environmentally sound as well as functionable for everybody. But you could literally use it, Phil, from April 1st to probably October 30th.
Yeah.
And it goes, just for everybody's knowledge, you hit say a fire hydrant has a button on it. The kids hit it, and the computer cycle turns on each of the things for a minute or 2 minutes, and then it closes. It goes, the next one turns on, they run to that one. So you have 25 different computer programs. So that way, once the kids leave, you're not wasting water at all or energy. It turns off completely. So water is only used when there's people playing on it.
That covered, Phil?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much.
All right, just a couple logistics questions, Bill. We saw when we tried to build on Mill Pond before, there was a public, outcry. This building is not as big, right? But we're still going to put a new building on Mill Pond.
Yep.
It looks like we're absorbing quite a bit of space where, I assume the extravaganza will be back, or it is back, right? So
Yes.
we're absorbing quite a bit of space for that. Now we're gonna, take down the old pool house and make that a sitting area. But does that interfere with, fireworks? I think it's much closer than we're allowed to sit today.
So if I can share my screen again, I think I can answer a couple of those questions. So as far as the extravaganza goes, basically right now you set up shop out here along Garfield. So that would certainly need to change. And the thinking would be that it would run along the east side of the site. So I think with the baseball field gone, you have an equal amount of land, just in a different place. As far as the fireworks go, let me go to page 43. So this is this red circle is the drop zone, or the stay away zone for the fireworks. So we're way up here with our new development. So well out of the fireworks area.
I was talking about where you're gonna put this, if we regrade the property, right, we'll have to put up some kind of barricade there where the pool used to be.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You'd
Okay.
have to stay out of that area.
This is the picture I was looking for. Thank you.
I think I can't see it, but I'm from my memory, the drop zone is the back fence of the pool, I think. Is that correct, Mike?
It's into the pool area. So it's probably, I'd say it's most of the existing pool and probably the back of the building.
Yeah, I mean, right now the bathhouse is right along the pathway, so nobody can sit there anyways.
Yeah, you
back in-
definitely have to rope that area off.
Yeah, we do that yellow police tapes and on Willard Avenue. I guess we'd have to do it there, but in the past, we have had VIP areas in the pool decking. So we'll have to talk with the fire marshal regarding that when the time comes.
Yeah, there is definitely some space within the existing pool fence line that's outside of the fireworks zone.
Right. Yeah.
Takes a bit of trust, I suppose, to sit there, but it is outside the zone.
Depends which way the wind's blowing.
A bit of trust or a couple of beers. Yes, Carol.
Quick
Yeah.
question. I'm just curious. So the amount of space we're taking with the new project versus the amount of space we're going to gain by demolishing the existing, what's the net gain or net loss?
It's
Do we know?
similar. It's the order of magnitude's the same.
Okay.
And a lot of it depends on where you want to push the fence line to and how much lawn you want inside the pool area versus outside. If you
Okay.
pull the fence line tight to the pool, you could probably be the same or less. Because right now you're sort of spread out. You've got the separate wading pool, you've got the filter building, so you're kind of sprawled right now. We're a little more compact with the elements, but we think you're going to want some lawn area in there. So
Yeah, no, and I think that's a good, that has to be emphasized,
Mhm.
that it's almost apples for land use.
right. And the other thing, there was some discussion at a previous meeting about a concern about obscuring the view into the park, but the sort of natural bend in the road really lends itself nicely to locating the building in a manner that doesn't obscure the view at all. And if you want to indulge me for a minute, I can show you a couple of videos along Garfield of how that works.
Yeah, please do. Unless you had other questions, Carol, I'm sorry.
Oh, I took my hand down.
Okay,
Mr. Chair,
yes, sir.
I got a question for Bill. I noticed that the pool is taking up quite a bit of space. Now, you take the extravaganza, that's exactly where the carnival was. How are you going to relocate the rides and everything now? Have you taken a look at that, Bill?
Yeah, we have. And in fact, this year, we're going to curve the carnival towards home plate. We never let the carnival be on the baseball field before, but this year, because it's got very little use, we're going to move it into an L shape because we also have that miniature golf over there now, and we also have the preschool playground over there. So we are already this year going to experiment with curving it around, I would guess, home plate-ish, home plate to third base. So that'll give us, and we'll experiment with it this year.
Okay. Thank you.
One thing I noticed on the drop zone, or where you're allowed, I guess, to sit for the fireworks. If it's true that half of the soccer fields over off of Cross Street are available because that circle only spans half of it, then you've got some extra space there, because that's usually roped off the whole area.
Yeah, it's got to be a 300 and something, 44 feet circle diameter. So yeah, we can always play with the exact spot the shooter's going to shoot the fireworks from. We could move it over a little bit here or there.
All right, any other questions? Because I think Mike was going to show us a video.
Yeah. So are you looking at the street? So basically, this is the approach from the east. And so with the baseball field gone, all of this fencing can go away as well. And then these are the trees that were tucked in behind. And then the bend in the road, you know, as you approach the building, you know, takes your focus off of the park. And then you come back around as you go to the bus yard. And then coming the other way from the bus yard, you know, your focus is towards the new building. New building is tucked behind these trees, and then the bend in the road. You sort of clear the new construction before you have a view of the park again. So nothing we're building is obscuring the view due to the natural bend in that road. So for what it's worth, that's
yeah. With full disclosure to everybody, I'm not positive all those trees are going to stay. When the state gave Gary Furstenberg and the town planner a $50,000, I think it's $50,000 or $75,000 grant for connectivity downtown, and I saw plans that had sidewalks on the other side of on that side of Garfield Street, so it might connect downtown to that path that goes through Mill Pond Park. Not sure if that'll ever come to fruition, but I do want to mention that to you.
that would be even better.
Yeah, if we take those down, we would replace them with strategic plantings with trees that are more suitable for the area.
Yeah, those trees have been hacked up by the power company too, so they're not great.
We in New Britain, we used to call it CL and V. When they came through, they would cut it in a half a circle, a V or an L. So
what trees are there? Are you talking about the pines over on Garfield? Or are you talking
Yes.
about a different?
No, those. And I'll tell you, they lose their branches on every storm, every windstorm. There's major pickup to do. So they've extended their life expectancy also.
But in the same time as the pool, huh?
Probably were.
Probably. Yeah.
65 years.
Yeah.
All right, so I mean, I looked at the big report. I didn't study it. As exciting as it might be. So I guess, are we in consensus? This is the plan we would, like to present to the public and the council? It has to go to the council first, Carol. I'm not,
Yes, it
Don?
does.
Has to go to council first?
Right.
Yes.
So we have
Yes.
to make a motion. We have to move it to the council for the council discussion. And then it goes from there.
All right. Don, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I'd like to make that motion. I just have a question for either Mike or Jeff. The figure that Mike gave is approximately $9 million. Is an approximate figure an appropriate number to give to council, or do you need a specific number for cost?
Yeah. No, I think the estimate in general would probably be provided to the town council, but the round number would be sufficient.
Okay. So I'd like to make a motion to accept TLB Architecture's Phase 1, A through D, E 1 and 2, and soft costs for a total, as per their plan, for a total of $9 million. I'd like to have that move that to council for consideration for referendum.
I'll second it, Jay Vitalico.
Second.
I wanted to make some more comments before we got that far.
You can,
But
We can discuss now.
Now's your time.
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
discuss.
Now's the time to discuss.
Okay, so I just want to say that I'm still not, I was one of the holdouts originally on the location, and nothing's changed my mind, unfortunately. So I think it's just too much emphasis on a pool that's going to distract from much of the open space feel of the park. I'd prefer to see it in the original place or over by the playscape there. So just want to, I know that the rest of you feel differently, but I just want to give you my feelings. Thank you.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah, go ahead, Don. Thank you.
I
Yeah.
think if you read Bill's letter today about the hydraulic pressure from the existing pool, now granted, the pool is 50, 60 years old, but it's not a very good situation to put the pool back in the same spot, knowing that the same thing is going to occur to some point in the future. And Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong in saying that, but it seems a logical conclusion to me.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I think from an engineering standpoint, the groundwater is something we can manage better now than what you could have managed 50 or 60 years ago. But there are other complications to building that close to the pond, including the permitting, the stormwater management, all of the things associated with building close to water. But the other reasons to be closer to Garfield Street, for the connection to the rec center, connection to the street, the utilities, the drainage, the visibility for patrolling and security. There's a laundry list of reasons why the north end of the site was preferred. The proximity to groundwater near the pond is one of those things, a significant one. But that could be solved with dollars. But I think a lot of the intangibles are really, in my mind, the more important reasons to be near Garfield Street. Anything, if we build it that deep into the park, it's a cork in the bottle no matter what you do. It's always going to be a seasonal facility in the middle of the park as opposed to on the edge of a park. But certainly we see the influence of the pond in the groundwater readings by the playground. So, everything underground is draining that way and it's just unstable. It's less expensive to build near Garfield Street for sure. But there's a lot of design reasons aside from the technical reasons why that's a better site.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I have a question on that. Is if you were to put the pool back in the same place, do you not at least lose 1 year during construction of use of a pool?
You will, yeah, you should count on losing at least 1 year.
Yeah. Okay.
Probably not 2 years, but
When we did it in Willowbrook, Mike, we lost two swim seasons.
Okay.
Construction,
that-
con-
to me-
construction never goes on time.
Like,
Yeah.
2 years losing a pool doesn't make sense to me.
Bill, did you mean Willowbrook or Stanley?
Willowbrook.
Willowbrook?
Stanley, we built in parallel, so they never lost a season.
And what was the cost on that pool again? I know we're talking about a different construction cost this year, but I remember it was quite reasonable at that time.
The pool and bathhouse and associated components. Well, there's a pool, bathhouse, basketball court, some parking improvements, and a little league baseball field. Was 5.7 or 5.8 million.
Yeah, 5.8.
And that doesn't, there's no splash pad there, right?
There's not. There's some spray features in the zero depth pool, but there's no separate splash pad.
So if I could just rebut a couple of my point, again, I know I'm not preaching to the choir, so I'm just preaching to myself, but you know, as far as those intangibles go, that's exactly what I'm talking about. We're talking about a seasonal, you know, feature that is at the, you refer to the edge of the park as somehow that's better, but as opposed to the middle, but to me in the middle, it's kind of more tucked away and less obvious. I think we're just, the pool is going to be the focal point for everybody, you know, just going by there. But again, I'm not going to harp on this too much because I know I'm in the minority here. So I'm just
Well,
giving you
I think-
my reason. I'm just giving you my reasoning.
Yeah, understood. I think one of the design discussions we find ourselves in with park design a lot is whether you're looking at the impact of the park from outside the park looking in or inside the park looking out. If you're in the park, if you're a park user within the confines of the park, having the open space in the middle is beneficial, and having the active programs around the edge, as opposed to the other way around. Because when you go to the park, you don't want to be hanging out near the street. You want to be in the park. And so keeping as much open space within the park as possible is beneficial for the park users.
I think that by moving the pool over, you know, we aren't really, in my opinion, fully appreciating or utilizing Mill Pond itself, you know, and that's a huge opportunity for us. Whether you rent out, you know, paddle boats or you know, set up, you know, I'm not even sure if people can go swimming there anymore, but you know, currently when you're sitting there at the playscape, it's almost as if the pool's in the way. It's almost as if it's not just an eyesore when it's empty, but it's an eyesore when it's being utilized, and you can't even see the pond. So, you know, personally, I feel, you know, moving that pool away from Mill Pond itself, aesthetically, the park on its own, with doing very little work to the pond, it'll improve things, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels a little bit like when they built 91 on the Connecticut River.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. Thank you, Mrs. Auerbach.
Garrett, you've been awfully quiet tonight.
I'm just listening to everything. I'm leaning more towards John Bashan's point of view. With the improvements, as Michael said, the improvements in drainage management, I don't see what the big benefit is to move it to the north side of the pool if we're still going to have to manage groundwater. There's got to be a way to rebuild in the location it's at now, utilizing more modern drainage techniques. I mean, you could put a well down there and pump groundwater out and use that to irrigate the park. I mean, it's got to be a lot less expensive to do something along those lines. I like where it is. Is the current bathhouse ugly? Yes, it is. That could be, you know, something could be done with that. But you know, trashing the whole north end of the park just to add this pool, while I like the design, I'm just not sold on the location.
Mr. Chair, can I say something?
Go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm not super formal in these meetings, so if you speak
okay,
up.
so I guess I would defer to the professionals. If the professional thought that was the best spot from aesthetics and practicality and construction, I am pretty comfortable that he would suggest building in the same location. We've talked at length at why we shouldn't build in the same location. At the north end, it doesn't seem to interfere with anything. It will add continuity from the community center to the pool complex. To me, it makes sense. We have, Bill, how many summer kids participate in that summer camp program using the pool, et cetera? Thousands, right?
Well, we'll have to move everyone from the 5th through 8th grade from Churchill over here too. So we'd have close to 400 or 500 kids from 7:30 in the morning until 5:30 in the afternoon, Monday through Friday, not including the preschool kids, which is another 30 to 70 kids. And then you have the transitional academy there, and I'm not sure their numbers, but there'll be a lot of kids. It'll be probably 30,000 visits.
And the kids that are swimming just as a point of recreation. So again, I have, we have probably the best architectural firm giving us his input on this project. And I'm a firm believer in listening to the professionals. That's simple. I don't know what else I could say.
Carol?
Thank you. I concur with Don. I think we need to leave this up to the professionals. I will be adamantly against even putting it in the same location that it is. I think that we can utilize that pond with so much more better ideas, with the natural topography of the land for the band shell. I just think that we're really wasting that whole east side of the pond and we're not taking advantage of it. And that should be the focal point. We're not focal point in the pool. And I don't think driving around, you're going to just see this big blob of a building. I think it's very architecturally pleasing to the eye. And I think, my opinion, and I go with the professionals, I think that's the best place. I don't want to see it in the middle of the pond down by the playground. I think that's even a worse spot for it, because then you're just having this structure kind of like in the middle of the pond in the park. But I'm to the north side of the park near Garfield.
We also talked about on phase 2, Mike, right? Don't you have a fishing pier, and we could utilize it for kayaking, canoeing, fishing, and then have music down there? It would really make for a beautiful, beautiful park using the water natural features.
All right. Yeah, I mean, the pond is what the park was created around originally. And then at some point, the intervention of the pool blocked the pond from the rest of the park. The park wouldn't exist without the pond.
True.
So what are
Well, I'd like to call the vote. Let's vote it up or down.
I agree.
I for one would like a little more time to look at it. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff here. I'm also very concerned with, surprises. What surprises are in store for us starting this project? I don't want to get into a project for $9 million and it costs us 15 or 12 or whatever the number is. Right.
Mike, can you adjust that, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, there's always risk in construction, but I can tell you, we've built enough pool facilities from the ground up in Connecticut that we've got, a pretty good sense of what these things cost and where the skeletons are buried and what might, impact the cost. As I mentioned, we've got that design contingency in there for whatever might come up. But, you spent the money to do the underground analysis, which identifies where the big surprises might be. So we know what the soils are, we know what the water is, we know we're not going to encounter ledge on any grand scale. We know there's no sort of legal anomalies with the park perimeter or the park, closing the property lines. So we know where the floodplains are, we know where the wetlands are, we know what the topography is. So there's no 100% clean project, but as far as it goes, I think we know what we need to know, that we're comfortable that the proposed design and the proposed estimate is reasonable.
And if I may add to it too, spending the 75,000, whatever it was, to do the underground work is something that we haven't done in the past in Newington for construction. So we took out a lot of the surprises underground, number one. Number two, I know with John and Garrett, you guys aren't in my business, but you are sensitive to politics. And if you close a pool for the summer or 2 summers, and you could say all you want about Newington High School indoor pool, it's too deep to teach lessons for little kids, and it's indoors, and it's not a healthy place in the summer. And then God forbid Churchill closes down on us or folds up. We're the political people, whoever they may be at the time it happens, it's going to look really ugly and really uneducated. So part of my job is to make sure that you guys know what the potential risks are on the administrative side of things. And I can tell you, there's nobody in Rocky Hill or New Britain that wanted that to happen. And I'm sure there's nobody in Newington, and I'm pretty sure there's nobody around these surrounding towns that would want that to happen to their town, because it would be a black eye for a long period of time. And then lastly, I'll close with this. You're going to spend an extra $700,000, $800,000 on a splash pad. We're about the only town in this area, not only doesn't have one, but doesn't have 3 or 4 of them in different towns. And I think it's time to step it up. There's not much more this town can do to keep wasting money on fixing cracks. The concrete is hollow. It's falling apart everywhere. We painted Saturday. We had to keep pumping the water out as it pumped through the cracks in the bottom of the pool. The drains don't meet the state requirements. I'm spending another $15,000 on changing the stupid drains in this thing. We're throwing good money after bad. And it just doesn't make any sense to me. And then I didn't even throw in the handicap accessibility features, but holy cow, that's a well needed, and could be putting the town at liability immediately for just one major complaint to the Department of Justice.
I would just like to say one thing, that I don't like dragging this thing out. I mean, we've gone through this town hall. I mean, we're a committee here. We got to make a decision. The longer we wait, time is not on our side. And I agree with you, Bill. Eventually, those 2 pools at Churchill and Little Pond are going to be out of service, and we're going to hear about the political uproar. Let's do it. Either we do the pool or just forget it. I just don't want to go on meeting after meeting after meeting and get nowhere. That is our purview, is to go ahead, present it to the town council. And I agree with Don Woods. I think it's time to present it to the town council.
Garrett?
Mike, I got a question to answer. John had a point, and he talked about the prizes, and Mike, this might be an opportunity, and I don't know the answer to this, but when you guys did Stanley Park, did you come in way over budget? Did you come in at budget? Like, were there any surprises? Can you lend some shared experience? Because that was a recent pool.
The bids came in on budget and we had virtually no change orders. So, and then we recently bid out Wallingford Pool, which is similar in scale to what we're talking about here. Smaller pool, but, bathhouse pool, splash pad, other site development, demo of the existing. And if anybody's familiar with Wallingford, it's basically a paved pond. And it didn't get built. COVID derailed it. The mayor vetoed it, but we did receive bids and they were right on budget. So, I think we know what these things cost. As I said, you're never 100% sure that when you put a backhoe in the ground, you're not going to dig up, God knows what. But we're about as comfortable here as we've been on any, in terms of knowing what the risks are. And with new construction, it's manageable. It's when you get into renovations and restorations where you find surprises. Here it's demo and build new. So
Yeah, oftentimes with renovations, you get asbestos or under, the features that you don't really know.
yeah, or rotten structure you need to rebuild, or cracked foundations that were buried. All kinds of things. But here, when you're building new, it's more predictable.
Garrett?
Yeah, okay. Everybody's responses are, well thought out, well reasoned. So hypothetically, we send this to the council sends it to a referendum. The referendum fails. Where does that leave us now?
Back to the drawing board.
Sorry, Carol?
Back to the drawing board.
Back to the drawing.
Okay.
You all set, Garrett?
Yeah, that's fine with me. Thank you.
Okay, well,
I do have one question or thought. Mike, you said you built in a 30% increase in materials as well. That might not be here in 2 years, correct?
Yeah, not all the materials, wood, steel, copper, and PVC
Okay.
right now.
Anything right now that has escalated, okay.
Yep. Yeah, that estimate is based on current dollars.
What's your contingency, Mike? You said 10%.
10%. Yep.
So what's that line item? Do you have it in front of you or not?
Well, it'd be 900,000.
Okay, on the whole project. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, it's applied at the bottom because we don't know where you need the contingency.
Right.
okay, well, I just, being a new politician, I don't appreciate being threatened politically, but,
Get used to
I
it.
didn't mean, if you're saying that I was threatening, I didn't mean it that way, John.
well, Jack will work better because then you're not physically blaming me.
No, listen, it could be a whole new realm of people, could be a new Parks and Rec staff, it could be whatever. I'm just saying professionally, this is the way people work. And I've made a career on protecting political or elected officials' backs and making them look good. So this would make you look good. The other way obviously doesn't make someone look good.
All right. So let's,
There's a vote on the floor.
Yep.
okay, let's roll call vote, please.
Okay, members are asked to signify their approval by saying aye, or their disapproval by saying nay of the motion that is on the floor. Councilor Ernest.
Quick question.
Oh,
The
Sorry.
motion on the floor is to accept phase 1, items A through D, and E 1 and 2 for a total of $9 million and move to the town council.
Yep, I think that included soft costs too.
Yes.
Okay, all right, and including soft costs.
Did that include the band shell or not, Michael?
No, it included demo the existing and just regrade.
Oh, I
Okay.
thought that was in, so we want the band shell in there as well then. Do I have to amend my
Simple
motion?
band shell.
And if we don't spend the 10% and there's $900,000, there might be money already to pay for that. So it might not even be an issue.
Yeah, we had the band shell at $337,000.
But isn't that in the 9 million?
No,
Ah,
What
That's
kind of band
B3.
shell is that?
it's a custom band shell with power and water and lights and speakers. You know, it's a band shell. You could certainly do, a more pavilion flavor, kind of like what you have now, for a lot less money, or you can just, stick the band on the grass for now.
All right, so Don, just to be clear, you're amending your motion to include all of section E, correct?
correct. I thought we were. I'm sorry.
No, you were just the E1 and 2.
No, I thought I thought E1 and 2 was inclusive of everything. I'm sorry.
No, there are, I think there's about 7 or 8 items in section E.
There's 5. All of E combined is 1,092,000.
So what does that do? What
That
does that do
includes-
to,
Oh, sorry.
what does that do to the total cost?
That would bring it to, let me do a little quick math here.
10-2, 10-5.
About 10, between 10-2 and 10-5.
So 70, oops. Just bear with me 1 second.
We could probably, I'm wondering off the top of my head, and I just say this for brain power, brainstorming. If you get over 9, if you get to 10, it sounds too expensive to me. 9 is more sellable. And if I'm around, I'd feel confident at raising the money to build a band shell, or at least have the contingency money as a portion of it. That might work. But I don't know. Carol, Don, what do you guys think as far as the whole?
I would like to keep it at 9. I think that's a little bit more palatable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually thought the 9 was inclusive of all those things. So that's my fault.
Yeah.
I did too.
It was just a tear down and a regrade. And
We
sorry,
could
go
always
ahead.
Okay, so do we need to amend the motion then, or just keep it at the 9 million?
I
The
think
soft,
I
I just want to make sure, Mike, the soft cost is in the 9 million?
The soft cost for A through D and E1 and E2
Is 9 million.
is not, that's construction and soft cost. A project cost of 9 million.
Okay,
and that's demolishing the old building, taking it away, and just sloping down the grass.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
that's
if, like
more-
you said, sorry, like Bill said,
That's-
if you don't use a contingency, you might get your band shell back.
Or-
That's more in line of what our committee is here for anyway. It's to handle the pool and
Yeah.
and optically 10 million, and then also a band shell. There might be some folks that if they, you know what, this is just success. So
Yep. I agree.
so I guess we're back to the original motion.
All
Just
right.
with the addition of soft cost. I'm sorry for the confusion. I thought he said that included everything. I'm sorry. Because I can't read this on this screen. You can forget that.
I know, I can't either. That's a bad problem. That's a big problem.
Oh, I guess I can't either then.
I think you could go to view options and expand the zoom. That's what I did. I bumped
you
it up
can't
to
ex-
like 150.
You can't expand it, and then you can't like enlarge your own screen. You have to have them enlarge the screen, so
Yeah.
it just.
Bill,
doesn't-
maybe if you know what you're doing on a computer, you can do that, but not
And
me.
if you're
Okay.
on a laptop with a small screen, you can only make it as big as you can.
Well, just for those who are, who can't read the screen, this includes the baseball field removal at 31,670. It includes field sports at 233,203. It includes aquatics at $6,948,383. It includes the soft play area at $269,479. It includes E1 demolition pool facility, $194,336. It includes E2 regrade and amphitheater terraces, $276,389 only, plus the soft costs, which were $1,301,567.
And that brings it to the 9 million.
Yes, I haven't added them up, but I believe that's what it comes to. Yes.
And that
Yes.
includes a contingency too, Mike, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay, good. All right, I think you got it.
All right, so Mr. Chairman, you want me to take a roll call vote?
Yes, please.
All right. Again, members are asked to signify aye if you're in favor of the motion, or nay if you oppose the motion. Councilor Anist,
Aye.
Mr. Knowlton,
Aye.
Mr. Woods,
Aye.
Mr. Bashan,
No.
Mr. Batalico,
I think we lost them.
We did.
Let me call him.
Mr. Havens,
No,
Mr. Donahue.
No.
Well, then you've got a tie vote.
Yeah, hold on. Let me see if I can get Jay back.
I didn't think Jay was on the part of the committee. I thought he was an advisor from Park and Rec.
No,
No,
he's a
he's
member of the committee.
Never been on a committee with an even number of people on.
That's
No,
why.
Jay, that's Jay's the odd one.
It's 7.
Just the odd person.
That goes without saying, but
What happens with a tie, Jeff?
It fails.
Well, yeah, the motion does not pass.
I just got his voicemail. I don't know.
Well, I think he deserves a chance because he did seem to be for it. I mean, I have to say.
Let me see if I can text him.
Next track, but 7:25 p.m. Status bar item. Current time.
is that me? Or is that some of the time here?
No, that was my watch.
Oh,
Hey.
sorry. I'm like going, what? I'm
We need your
looking at
vote.
all my speakers here.
Locked on. He lost his cable. If he says it through my phone, do you believe it's Jay Metallico?
I can almost hear him, Don. I can.
Jeff, is that legal?
Does he even know what the motion is now, though?
Yeah, well, Jay, did you hear the motion?
Put him on speaker.
Put him on
Yeah, hold-
speakerphone, Don.
Yeah,
Put him
hold
on
on a minute.
speakerphone.
All right, you there, Jay? Yeah. All right, so we're at the vote. I'm gonna have, let's see, so far, I voted yes, Carol voted yes, Phil voted yes. Garrett, you voted, no, John voted no, John Bashan. And Jeff, can you read the motion to Jay?
Yeah, the motion is to, hang on a second here, let me find it. It's to award, to accept the plans and specifications for the improvements for phase 1, which includes items A through D, item E1 and E2, and the what I'm calling the soft costs. It'll be the and other costs for a total of $9 million, roughly. And to forward that to the town council for their consideration.
Yes, 900,000. Okay, thank you, Jay.
I did not hear him.
Yeah, we
You
didn't hear him.
Thank you. Oh, wait a minute. Don't hang up, Jay.
No, I didn't hear him either, so.
Just roll call him, Jeff.
Can you hear it now?
Mr. Metallica, what is your vote?
He's saying yes.
Didn't hear him.
No
Can't
one
hear
heard.
him.
All right,
Can't
let me
hear
try-
it.
all right, wait a minute.
We'll trust you, Don, because he seemed like he was going that way anyway. But
Wait, let me try this. I'll try with the headset. I don't know why I can't.
Wrap the headset above the speaker for the machine.
Jeez.
All right, can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Don, but I cannot hear
Jay.
Jay.
Talk it. Say yes now.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I
Thank
heard
you,
that.
Jay. We're good.
Was he coerced?
All right.
No.
That's okay.
The motion passes 4-3.
Okay, take care. Bye.
That was the craziest thing that ever happened. Oh, man.
all right, so it goes to the council now.
Yes.
All right.
Do we do anything more, or only if the council approves it, then we would start going through the nuts and bolts of it? Is that how it works?
Yes, we
Yeah,
have to,
if
get it on the
council
agenda.
has- If the council has something that they wish you to do, then they'll direct you to do that. But right now, the ball is in their court, and they would need to decide whether or not they want this to proceed to referendum.
But let's say it passes referendum. Are we still the building committee after that?
Yes, you are.
Oh, okay. All right, congratulations, everybody, for now.
Yeah, it's only round one, John.
Yes.
We're far, far, far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a long way to go.
The town hall only took 7 years.
We don't want to rush into anything.
Yeah.
Oh, gee, that's a
We have to
cheery
be-
thought.
we're
Let's
very-
not go there.
We're very cautious here in Newington.
All right, so as a chairman, I bring it forward to the town council.
Yes, what I can do is I can send a memo to the town manager indicating the committee's action and
Alright.
requesting that it be placed on the agenda for consideration. And, but yes, I would think that someone will need to present this to the town council. And you may wish to have Mr. Fortuna present when that occurs or not.
Okay, well, we'll get it. I think if we get it on the agenda, we'll certainly want to have Mr. Fortuna there and Bill and, you know,
Probably the building committee too.
probably the building committee, right?
Yeah.
All right, so thank you, Jeff. Send me that email. I will send something out to the town council, let them know that it's coming. And, you know, we'll schedule a meeting after we hear back from the council.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Anything else? Make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in
Whoa,
favor?
whoa, whoa, whoa.
No.
We still have public
Oh,
participation.
sorry, public
Yeah, public
participation.
I was,
Sorry.
I was wondering, I thought there might be, you know.
I got excited.
We do have one individual on, so if they are interested, they can use the raise hand feature or *9 on their phones. At this point, I would say you're good to go.
All right.
All right, well, good night, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Do we
Night.
officially
Night.
adjourn?
Oh, yeah, I think
Yeah.
roll call vote or some
Yeah.
kind of vote.
You're supposed to
Say
roll
aye.
call.
Bye.
Aye.
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 I say an aye for Jay too.
No, he's gonna call back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hit them back.
All right,
Night.
guys.
Good night.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Aye.
Bye.